Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. Made it to Thursday. Having a little tea there. Trying to get the voice ready for talking for an hour straight. How is everybody out there? I hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Got a lot of stuff on the list here of topics that we can talk about. However, I will always be looking over here to see if there's anything specifically that you want to ask about, or if there's a topic you want discussed, just throw it in there and we can go with that as well. So nothing here is written in stone. We just take an hour and shoot the shit. And so get yourself something to drink, get comfortable, and we'll get started. So I'm going to go through the list here of stuff while we're waiting for people to come in. Hello, Bastille. I'm going to go through the list of the stuff that I have written down. I'll just go through it bullet point like real quick, and then we can go back and each one in detail. We're going to talk about the latest development in the Intellivision Amico thing that came out today. It's a big one with regard to that console. We'll talk a little bit about Dying Light 2. We're going to talk about Critical Role, the video cast, whatever you want to call it. Not a podcast, it's more of a video cast, online series. We're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett. Got to talk about that, but we'll hold that one until the end. So because I will be talking about spoilers, so that'll be like the last thing we discuss will be the Book of Boba Fett, the finale. Then we're going to talk a little bit about a show called Disenchantment on Netflix, because there's a new season that started today. I did not start the new season, but it dropped, and I've seen all the seasons before that, so we'll talk a little bit about that. If you haven't already watched it, we'll get into that a little bit. We can touch on your predictions and my predictions for the Super Bowl and all that. And we can even touch a little bit, because it's a topic right now, the Olympics. And we got a lot of people that chime in from other countries and stuff like that. So that might be an interesting little topic we can just throw out just because it's happening right now. So those are just the topics that I had off the top of my head. I forgot one. We can talk about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard buyout situation, because there have been developments there. So we'll put that down here. That way I won't forget that, because I'm old and I will forget if I don't write the shit down. So I think it's just you and me, Bastille, right now. Looks like there's only one other person. There's one person in here, and that must be you. So there was two at the beginning. So we'll hang out here and wait a little bit and see if anything else comes up. And then, provided we have time or whatever, we'll go through this. I always like to go through something off the shelf. We can go into the Dawn Patrol box set here and talk about that a little bit. So, yes, the cool kids, the ones that know where it's at on a Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, where to be, right? Like, as if people don't have anything else better to do, right? So, and the reason that I do this one on Thursday nights, the reason I even do 2 a week, is Sundays is awesome, because most people are off Saturdays and Sundays. So Sunday, if I do it, and I do it at noon Pacific time, 1 o'clock my time, is I'm trying to be able to basically make it at a time when anybody, most people can chime in. Even at that time, even the people in Europe, it's like, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night, maybe 10 o'clock at the latest. and which is still viable for them to chime in and try to get everybody. So I do that on Sundays, and then the Thursday night one is for anybody that can't make the Sunday one maybe, and I try to do it after everybody gets off of work. I pick I figure if I pick 6 p.m. Pacific time, that's 6 p.m. in California. Most people hopefully gotten off work and so forth, and it's like 9 o'clock on the East Coast. So Eddie Green, Mike Carr Classic. Man, is it ironic that you happen to mention Mike Carr's name regarding this? Because I have a story to tell about Mike Carr. Actually, I'll tell 2 stories about Mike Carr when we go through this. So, Eddie, I'm trying to remember. Have you been? Are you new to this to my show, or have you been in here? I think you've been in here before. I'm pretty sure I've seen your name before. But again, I always mention the old factor, that I'm old, so it could be that I'm just mistaken. So let's see here. Let's see. Except that could be. Oh, now I got it. Eddie Green, Edward, who I just call you Edward now because everything that I've seen was always Edward. So, hey Edward, how are you? So I was like, Eddie, could that be Edward? And sure enough, that's got to be who that is. So we may not get very many more people in here. Sometimes it ends up being about halfway through we start getting more people in. So I'm going to start talking about some of these topics here. Just go through some of these for you two guys, and then anybody watching this on replay. So the latest on the Intellivision Amico console, and yeah, I figured that out, Edward. It took the old brain a little bit to put 2 and 2 together, and so you guys always Mistra is she is absolutely expert level at doing that shit. On Twitter, she changes her handle about once every 2 or 3 months. And then it takes me a while as I'm going through my Twitter feed to realize, oh, that's Mistra, who I, for the longest time called her Dragon Spheres because that was her original handle. So she was always Dragon Spheres to me because she's changed her handle so many times. But now she's Mistra, and she's been on Mistra for a while. So, yeah, you're following in her steps that you guys change your handles a little bit. Eddie Green's not a whole lot different than Edward, of course, but she changes it completely. So, yeah, you're not quite at her level yet. So the Intellivision Amico. So as you guys know, I was one of the people that pre-ordered the Founders Edition, sent them $100 because they said, hey, you send us $100 now. That secures your Founders Edition. It's your deposit, and then when it releases, you'll get your Founders Edition. You pay an extra whatever the balance is, and you're good to go. And the Founders Edition is the only one that will look exactly the same color scheme as the original console, the original Intellivision console that came out in the early 80s, which is why everybody wants one. So we did that and everything. And then, of course, we had COVID and we had, supply chain issues and everything. And they kept putting it off, which everybody understood and all that. And then I told you in the last live, I think, that they had made an announcement that, oh, yeah, by the end of January, we're going to make an announcement, whatever. And February 5th or whatever it was, they put out a new video. And it basically was a commercial trying to drum up more money through investment, which sent out all kinds of red flags and everything. So today, Ars Technica, the website, matter of fact, I'll pull it up right now. And I consider them a very reliable source, and specifically with this particular story, their references are very solid because they're referencing actual filings that the Intellivision people had to make. So, and I don't see the story right here off the top of my head, but basically the filings that the Intellivision Corporation had to file for whatever reason, there's some, I'm sure for investors or whatever, it basically said that they're in debt. And they're trying this latest video that they just put out, this commercial, where they're trying to get more investment. They need $5 million by July to stay in business. And because they say they haven't had any revenue. Well, that's funny because I remember them having an event not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago, where they had an event, a live event where they had a bunch of games titles that they were going to release, and they said, hey, if you send us X much, that you can buy these, you can pre-order these titles. And if it was like 5 or 6 games, Moon Patrol and some other ones were in there, I think, and they had demos of them and everything, and so people bought them, people pre-ordered. I did not, because I said, well, you already got $100 of my money, I ain't giving you any more. But a bunch of people bought, so they said they don't have any revenue. Bullshit, they got money from that, I know that for a fact. But regardless, Ars Technica is reporting that it does not look good. It looks like there's no way they're going to get $5 million between now and July or whatever. So I'm probably asked out of my $100, and which is just one of the reasons why I'm solidly on the no pre-order. I don't do Kickstarters. I don't do crowdfunding. I don't do any of that shit. I'll do crowdfunding if it's like for a charity, like somebody's, somebody has some catastrophic thing that happens in their life and somebody says, hey, we're starting a GoFundMe to help them. That's different. But as far as ordering products, pre-ordering products of any kind, games, books, whatever, they can kiss my ass. I ain't giving nobody any more of my money until I have X product either in my hand or on my hard drive or whatever, because so there's that one. And then there's the Memorial Tomb Kickstarter that Ernie Gygax and Benoit did, where I'm out $40 for that one. Luckily, that one wasn't a lot. That was only $40, which is like 6 years overdue or whatever it is. And then the other one that I have out there is the Return to the Dark Tower, and that one was a biggie. That one was like $370, or 330, or something, 370. I can't remember where, 360. Bottom line is I'm out like, $500 total between the Intellivision and the other ones and all that. The Return to the Dark Tower, it looks like I might get that one, because they've actually got ships where they've got the products on the ships now that came from China, and they can actually show you where the ship is and when it's going to dock, and so fingers crossed on that one. That one's a biggie. Hopefully I'll get that one. But yeah, because of all that I just talked about, that's why I don't do any pre-orders. None. Kiss my ass, I ain't doing none of it. I'm done. Because I'm pretty sure I can kiss my $100 goodbye on. And so there may be a class action lawsuit out of this for all of us that ordered the Founders Editions, but who knows how that'll go. But anyway, that's the update on that. It looks pretty bad for the Intellivision Amico thing. And I was actually looking forward to the actual console itself. I mean, it looked pretty cool, So next thing I had on my list here, Dying Light 2. I went and looked on Steam. The reviews are pretty good. And I never played the original, but going through there and reading more about it, the thing that turned me off about the original in the description was the parkour element. I've never been a fan of the whole parkour thing. I was never a platformer type guy, with, Mario and all that, jumping platforms and doing all that stuff. And parkour just seemed like it'd be a little bit more of an advanced version of that, of platforming. But from what I watched and saw, the pictures, the video, and all that stuff, I might actually have fun with it. So I may go back and do the first one, because I won't start with the second one. If I'm ever going to get into a franchise, I always go back and start with the beginning. So I might start the first one just to see. But I have a question for any of you There's only there's 60 guys in here now. So, are any of you guys playing the new Dying Light 2? Like I said, it's getting good reviews. I'd like to hear from some of you if you are having a good experience with it. Did you play the first one? Did you enjoy the first one? Is that the reason that you're playing the second one? Throw some comments in there so we can talk about it. And then the next topic for discussion is going to be Critical Role, the online video series. So I'll start out with regarding Critical Role. How many of you that are in here have watched Critical Role or are big fans of them, etc.? Make sure to comment below so I know if I've got anybody that has been following it or whatnot. I just started watching the very first campaign a couple days ago. So what I do is I genuinely, I'll have a game running like Star Wars Galaxies or something where I can have my character running on a macro, either doing harvesting or whatever. So I can be over there and I can be working on this collection, bagging and boarding and all that. And then on my laptop, I generally will put something, just a video series on, just to have while I'm doing my bagging and boarding and all that. So I'm multitasking, you know. And so I said, well, you know, I've never watched any of the Critical Role stuff. So I decided, let's just go to the very first one. Let's go back to the beginning and put it on and check it out, you know. And so I did that, and I've been watching the very first one, and I can see why. I always wonder, you know, because it took off and it went apeshit with popularity and everything. And I always wondered, you know, well, I could see, you know, kind of wanting to watch people play D&D live. You know, I kind of get that and all that. And I had seen some other shows that of live D&D and all that. But then when I started this one, I said, oh, now I get it. All of the players, at least in the first campaign, they're all voice actors that are playing D&D. So you have a room full of talented voice actors, each playing a role of a character in and voicing it as they would as a voiceover. And so they're actors and they're voice actors and they're role playing in a cool adventure with a good DM, Matt Mercer. Now I get it, because I thought it was just, you know, some, you know, average folks that they got together to, you know, but no, it's the voice acting adds an element to it. Because I can just be sitting there bagging and boarding away, just listening to it. I don't even have to be watching it. And it's keeping me entertained because of the voice acting talent that's coming through, you know. The big guy that plays the Goliath or whatever that race is that they have in that first one, it's where he's a big barbarian. It's a Goliath, I think. Let's see here. Hi, Greyhawk. Ever play Cyberpunk Red? I would like to see RPGs played more serious, where they stay on subject. I have never played Cyberpunk Red. I have never played Cyberpunk at all, tabletop. I only played Cyberpunk 2077 on the PC for a while, and it was such a buggy mess that I logged off and I uninstalled it. And at some point, I'm sure I'll reinstall it and then try to go through it again. But that's my only experience with Cyberpunk. I played Call of Cthulhu finally here. We have somebody in our group, Niels, who DMs Call of Cthulhu. So I got to play that, but I've never played Cyberpunk. So, Bastille says, I wonder if the episodes are downloadable in MP3 format. Well, they're all on YouTube. So if you can download YouTube stuff in MP3 format, which I've never been inclined to do, but I don't know if you can or not, but maybe you can. So it's all on YouTube. So you can watch them on your phone. I mean, laptop, whatever, So, but Sean Connor, welcome, and I would love to play Cyberpunk tabletop. That sounds like a blast. Uh, I've played lots of other, I've played the original Top Secret New World Order, uh, Call of Cthulhu, AD&D, D&D, Pathfinder. Um, now we're doing OSE, Old School Essentials, within the Dolmenwood campaign, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Oh, Gamma World. Let's see, Gamma World, Gangbusters, Boot Hill. So I've played a lot of them, but Cyberpunk's not one of them I've ever played before. So, um, 2077 was very fun. I like the show by my brother, and I watch all the time. We are 30, so you know your viewer stats. Okay, right on. Um, then I have a question for you, Sean, about 2077. Did you play it on PC or did you play it on console? And if you played it on PC, are you able to tell me, is it stable now where I could go back and enjoy it, where it's not bug ridden like it was at the launch and all that? Because I would like to know that. Um, so anyway, to finish off on the Critical Role thing, now that I get it, I'm definitely going to be, as I'm finishing up my project here, I'll definitely have that on, and I'll probably get through the first campaign or whatever, get into the second campaign. And whenever I'm doing projects here in the tavern, I'm going to just have it on so I can have it in the background and so forth. But I do get the appeal now. So that was, if anybody else out there hasn't seen it and was thinking about it, it does make a difference having the voice actors be the ones that are doing the role playing. So, let's see. Book of Boba Fett, we're going to save till the end because I'm going to talk spoilers. Disenchantment. Let's see. Sean says Xbox One, it went well, a few bugs, but nothing big. See, now I had heard that on consoles, 2077 was even worse at the beginning. Like it was even more difficult to run. And I think Mistra probably won't be in here because she's in Europe, so it's pretty late there. But I know that was one of her biggest complaints, was that it didn't run very well at all on consoles. So it sounds like you had a good experience, which is good. But I heard that it wasn't a great, especially on console. Um, so now the TV show on Netflix called Disenchantment. It is an animated series made by Matt Groening, same guy who did Future. Hey, Chupa. Same guy that did Futurama and all that stuff. And it's it's a it's a it's a farcical representation of a fantasy setting. Like Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards and Warriors, all that kind of stuff. And there's a king who's kind of a goofball, and then the main character is his daughter, Bean, who he has these aspirations that she's going to take over for him and all this other stuff. And all she wants to do is drink beer and party and stuff. And she has this little friend of hers that's an elf, and then she has a pet. She has a pet. Well, I don't know if it's really her pet, but it hangs around all the time. It's a pet demon. Um, and they get into all these adventures and shit that goes on and all that. But it's a continual story. It's all one long. This is like the fourth season, I think, fifth season maybe, and it's one long story. And it kind of starts out slow, but trust me, when you get into like the end of the first season, the end of the second season, it's damn well done. It's a great series. It's hilarious, but it also has a lot of fantasy memes and stuff in there, and it's got a compelling story. So if you have not watched Disenchantment on Netflix, I highly recommend it. If it's because I'm a Futurama fan. I'm a Simpsons fan. I'm a Family Guy. I like the animated stuff. So if you like animated, that kind of, and it's more on the adult themes than it is for kids, let's say. because there's drinking and there's occasionally sexual references and um uh there's of course, fighting and blood and death and stuff like that from time to time. So yeah, it's definitely, if you got kids, it's not necessarily a kid show. So anyway, have any of you guys been watching Disenchantment, or have you seen it, and do you have any opinions of it? Because I'd like to see what you have to say. Because the new season started today, I guess, and I did not start it. I'll probably start watching maybe tomorrow. I might watch the first couple episodes. I try not to binge and just blast through them, because then I'm like, damn, now I want more. So got to try and pace it a little bit. So Chupa says, I watched the first few episodes. I liked it. Yeah, Chupa. So I watched it that way too. The first few episodes, and I was kind of like, it's all right. And then I went back to it, and in the second season, man, it went. It So it kind of started slow, but once you get in that second season, man, and then the third season, this might be the fourth season, or the fifth, I can't remember. But it's been good ever since. So enjoy the hell out of it. Couple other topics we can talk about here, guys. If Bastille says, I have to finish the last season. Okay, so you've been watching it too. Okay. Yeah, and I've seen nothing about like any previews of this season or anything. I'm gonna be going in cold, but it'll take up right where the other one left off. So we can talk about the Super Bowl. Let's just, how about we do this? I'm gonna give my prediction, including what I think. I'll come up with a score, and we'll see how close I get to my target there. And then if you guys want to put your predictions in here as well, then after the Super Bowl, when I do my live afterwards, then we can see how close we all were. So I'm rooting for the Rams because I'm an LA guy. But I'm rooting for the Rams, but I think the Bengals are probably going to win. And I think it's going to be a very close game. Chupa says 21-17 Rams. But for my prediction, as much as I want the Rams to win, I'm rooting for the Rams. If I was going to make a prediction, I'm going to say, I'll say Cincinnati. Let's see, 27. Rams 21. Actually, we'll say this. Let's say Cincinnati 27, Rams 24. That's my prediction. And I'm going to type it in here so we have it written down here. Sean says, I recommend Animego. It's run by Wizards Rob Woodhead, and it's cool animation. Oh, I might have to check that one out. Right on. Thanks, man. So I'm going to put in here, my prediction is, I'm going to say rooting for the Rams, but I predict 7. Let's see here. So now it's all. So you got Chupa and me in there. Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Rams win, and then I'll be wrong. But that's my actual prediction. So, and now that I've said that, put it down there and everything. Here's why I think Cincinnati is probably going to end up winning the game. Sean says Rams 21, Bengals 20. That's not a bad one either. If it's like the playoff games were, it's going to come down to the wire, right? Because all the playoff games seem like they were, field goals and shit, right at the end, So I think that's just from what I witnessed. Number one, I think the Rams and Cincinnati are both, they exhibited the same amount of ferocity of wanting to win. They seem to want it equally as bad to get into the Super Bowl, So as far as being hungry, I think both teams are pretty equal there. The difference that I saw was that with that much tenacity and everything else, the difference was Cincinnati made less mistakes. So, yeah, Rams defense is crazy good. Agreed. But again, I think if there's going to be a difference maker, it's going to be that I think Cincinnati is going to make less mistakes. That's, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Rams win, and there we go. So, but anyway, that's my prediction, and I'm glad everybody else is putting in some predictions here, so we can go back and see who was right. If anybody nailed it, and if not, who got closest. Bastille says, Rams 21-12 Rush reference. Yeah, Rush 21-12, the album. Yep. Nice. I don't know how realistic that is, but we'll see. But let's see. Now the other thing we could talk about. Oh, Microsoft Activision Blizzard update. So, as you guys know, the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard is now in the works and all that. And I said from the beginning, I said, well, our FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, is going to have to oversee this thing and give it stamp of approval, or they could try to squash it. And the political maneuvering has already begun on the part of Microsoft. I don't know if you guys saw the reports, but Microsoft went to Washington this week, I guess it was. I keep thinking this is the weekend. When you're retired, it all blends. You forget when the weekend is and when it all blends together. They went this week, earlier in this week, and they've already started lobbying to the FTC to basically say, hey, look, we're not going to make exclusives. We're not going to take Call of Duty away from PlayStation. We're going to allow Call of Duty to stay on PlayStation, which is the big one. So they're basically saying they're trying to get ahead of the FTC and say, look, we're being good. We're going to be fair. We're not going to hoard everything onto our platform and make everything exclusive to our platforms. Because they actually have two platforms, if you think about it. They've got PC and they've got Xbox. That's two platforms, as where PlayStation, Sony has one. Because PC is a viable platform in itself, Hey, Mistra, we were talking about you earlier. There's a shocker, right? Every time you bounce in here, like we've always brought you up at least once, we were talking about Edward Green had he changed his handle to Eddie Green. And so at first when I saw it, I thought it was somebody new. And then I put two and two together and realized it was Edward, one of our regulars. And I said, yeah, Mistra is famous for doing that on Twitter. She changes her handle about every couple of months, that's why I still call her Dragon Spheres sometimes. But so that's how it came up. But I was mentioning that, you're kind of like the expert level of changing your handle around and stuff. Yeah, you always seem to get mentioned at least once, even when you're not here. So, anyway, and so right now we're just talking about, Sean says, I was curious, Greyhawk, if you have any stocks in video game companies. I have stock in CD Projekt Red. I bought it after playing the RPG and playing 27/7. They got a lot cheaper. I bet they did. I bet the stock price did go down. No, I have never had the gumption to invest in stocks. I don't like taking risks with my money. The only reason I've been able to be retired now is because my wife and I, the only investing we really ever did was in real estate, buying houses, and then when the market changed, selling and moving to another one, and that worked out for us. So that to me seems like a much safer investment, but it's more long term than something like stocks or Bitcoin or anything like that. So I hope that answers your question. yeah, I just don't. I've never had that in me to want to take risks and stuff like that. Now, I wish I thought about it when my grandmother wanted to buy me. I gotta take a deep breath on this one. Y'all are gonna shit when you hear this one. When I was a little kid, I don't remember how old I was, but my grandmother was still around. I was, shit, I probably had to be 11, 12, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe a little earlier than that even. And my grandmother wanted to buy, if I remember correctly, she wanted to buy me $100 worth of Disney stock, which at the time would have been like, I don't know how many shares it would have been. I just think about that. And we're talking in 19, that would have been mm, 1978, 1979. She was going to buy me $100 worth of Disney stock. And then I think my dad talked her out of it and said, no, why don't you just put the money in a savings account for him, which is what she did. If I had $100, if I had $100 worth of Disney stock in 1978, what would it be worth if I had still had it? What would it be worth now? You know, I don't, yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's one of those coulda, shoulda, woulda, moments. So Microsoft's trying to use politics. Shake my head, of course. Yeah, they're basically trying to get ahead of things, and say, look, we're not making exclusives. We're not gonna hurt the consumer, because what the FTC looks at is how's it going to affect the consumer, which is what they should do. And they're saying, look, no, we're going to be good. We're going to be good, because they do not want the FTC to just come out and say, no, you can't. This merger is unfair. It's a monopoly. You can't do it. They're trying to head that off. But um, Mistress says, have you seen Gilded Age? Apparently, a few $100s back then in 1880. I'm assuming you mean 1980, or maybe you mean 1880. I don't know, was like 70K now. Yeah. So, yeah, Disney stock, I'm sure, is split umpteen times between 1978, when she was going to buy me some, and what it would have been now. Who knows what it'd be worth. I'm sure somebody could do the. Um, we'll see what happens. Or we'll see if somebody wanted to do the math, what that would be. I'm not going to do the math, because yeah. And then Mr. says, okay, we'll see what happens. It's a TV show that's set in the late 1800s. Yeah, so yeah, it basically, like I said, if you remember with the Microsoft thing, when it first dropped, I said the FTC would have to get involved, and then I said we'll see how much what do you call it, back scratching and secret handshakes and shit go on. Basically, meaning, are there backroom deals where people are getting paid off to make sure this deal goes through? I mean, on the surface, they're just saying, no, we're going to be good and all that stuff. But are there behind the scenes things that are going on? Is there whining and dining going on? You know, so yeah. So stock price was $1.19 in 1984, and this was 1978 when she was going to buy it, and it's $151 now a share. So let's say it was $1 a share. That would have been 100 shares. So that would have, you're you're looking at, I would have at least, probably $10,000-$15,000, just from that little bit, you know. Um, Someone called Doctor Who. But I did have somebody who did the math one time when I said that when I was, when I was a kid, and probably just before I went in the army, even when Apple's stock was really cheap, if I got a bonus in the army. So when you go in the army, you get what's called a enlistment bonus sometimes, and I got a enlistment bonus of $6,000, and after taxes, it was like 4,800. And somebody at work said, well, if you had taken that $4,800, um, and bought Apple stock in 1985, $4,800 worth, and they did the math, and it was worth like $3 million now. If I had bought $4,800 worth of Apple stock, now who would have thought to do that, of course? But had I done that with my $4,800, if I went and said I want to buy all Apple stock, it's worth like $3 million now. It would have been like $3 million. And now, what did I do with the $4,800? Um, uh, beer and strip clubs until the money ran out. Me and my buddies, first duty station, went down to the strip clubs every night, drinking beer, strip clubs. Because at 18 years old and you got a pocket full of money, what do? That's what you do. So yeah, I should have bought a car. What I should have done with $4,800, I should have bought a car. But well, they say hindsight is 2020, but no one knew that. Yeah. So, but I told that asshole at work, I was like, yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for doing the math, of actually figuring it out on a calculator to tell me that, yeah, I could have $3 million right now if I had invested that in Apple stock. But anyway, so that's going on. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the FTC rules on this. My guess is they're going to let it go through because somebody's going to get a golden handshake or a backroom deal, or who knows what is going to happen behind the scenes. My guess is they're going to let the deal go through, unfortunately. But, I mean, it might be good for us, but Mr. I think is the one who said one time that it's never good when these mega corporations, as far as gaming goes, that it's not going to be good for. And I tend to agree with her. So I think that in the end run, I think with me personally, I'm going to lean a lot more towards indie games going forward than these big mega corporations if they keep, buying each other out and these big conglomerates and stuff. There's a lot of good indie game developers out there. So, okay. Let's see here. Entertainment in general, nobody proven me wrong since Disney. Exactly right. Brandon Looney Tunes fan 2000. What's up, Doc? Even though Disney makes some good stuff, they really stranglehold Star Wars. Yeah, we're getting ready to get into that, mister. We're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett. Brandon Looney Tunes fan 2000. I have 338 subs now. Well, congratulations, man. Yeah, I've been at this for shit. Well, we lived here. I've been doing it since before we lived here. We've been here like 7 years. So I've been doing this at least 7 years, and I only have 1,400 and something. So yeah, good luck to you, man. So we've got about 20 minutes left. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it, man. I'll check out after this is over. I'll go and check out your channel. So we're going to talk about Book of Boba Fett now. So if you have not seen it, we're going to talk spoilers. So I'm giving plenty of warning here now if you want to jump out. 9 years I've done it, mister. Shit. 9 years. And I've only got 1,450 subs. Damn. Brandon says I have a premiere Saturday night at 8. Yeah, I'll check out your channel, man, and see what you got coming up. And if you've already got any videos posted, I'll check them out. I believe in helping each other out. That's how we build ourselves up. So, but damn, 9 years. Holy shit. This was probably all black when I started, huh? I haven't gone back and looked at my old videos in a long time. Mike says, I catch a stream and now you're going to do spoilers. Well, I waited till the end, Mike. I said at the beginning, I said, we'll wait till the end to do Book of Boba Fett because we're going to talk spoilers. So that way everybody could, we could talk about stuff in the meantime. And then at the very end, we'll do the spoiler thing. So, Yeah, your timing was just not great, man. Um, so, is anybody else, because if there's enough people that say, "Hey, let's just not talk about it at all," we won't, and we could talk about it on Sunday. Shit, Sunday's a Super Bowl. I guess I Sunday. Well, it'll be before the game starts. So I guess we will do our Sunday show. We'll do our Sunday live. We could talk about Book of Boba Fett then. Um, and if you guys want to put it off, but I want to talk about it now. So let me comment below if tell me whether you want me to talk about it now or if you guys want me to hold off. Because I figured most people probably because it was the finale. I figured most people had already seen it. So Roadrunner and Coyote. Hey, I grew up on Looney Tunes, so I've seen every Roadrunner and Coyote. I've seen every Yosemite Sam, every Bugs Bunny, Elmer and Fudd. Um, so okay, so it looks like everybody's saying feel free to talk about it. So Book of Boba Fett. Um, it left me when at the end. It left me with a weird feeling because I enjoyed it to a certain extent, but there was something that just didn't feel right. Like the end of the Mandalorian season 2, I was I was over the moon, man. That was fan freaking tastic. I loved that shit. That was fantastic. The end of this one, I don't know. It just I didn't have that same feeling. Something's different. Now, I got to go back and see who directed the finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian. It might have been Jon Favreau himself. I can't remember. I think it might have been, or it was Dave Filoni, one of the two. This was Robert Rodriguez, and I'm just going to come out and say, um, the Robert Rodriguez episodes that he has done, I'm not a fan of Now, I know he's done other movies in the past that I was a fan that I enjoyed. Um, but with the Star Wars stuff, I don't know what it is about his style that turns me off. I don't know. I can't necessarily put my finger on it. I know that the space Vespas have something to do with it. I do know that. Um, um, the consensus seems to be like a 6 out of 10 for Book of Boba Fett, but Star Wars sets high standard. So a 6 is more like a 4 for the ending. The 2 episodes that were mostly The Mandalorian were fantastic. One was done by Dave Filoni, and I think the other one was done by Bryce Dallas Howard. I think I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's so far. My favorite directors have been Bryce Dallas Howard, Dave Filoni, and Taika Waititi. I don't think he did any of the Book of Boba Fett, but he did. Taika did do some of the Mandalorian, and those 3 directors on those 2 series have been my favorite. Now, Jon Favreau, of course, I think he's done maybe 1 or 2 also, and of course his were good too. But yeah, the Robert Rodriguez stuff, I don't know what it is. It kind of turns me off. I did enjoy aspects of it. Boba showing up on the Rancor, wielding the Rancor. Now, the the hat wearing bug eyed dude was creepy. Yeah, I believe he's a Chiss. That's the species. Because I've in like Star Wars: The Old Republic, they have Chiss. You can play a Chiss character, the blue skin characters, and it looks like he's augmented. He's got like Darth Vader is. He's augmented and all that. And so that's why he's special. Cad Bane. I never saw. And I'm getting to why. I'm getting to. She just mentioned. Mystery just mentioned the Clone Wars. The one thing this series did for me is it made me want to go and watch all the animated stuff because I didn't know really who Dave Filoni was before The Mandalorian and now the Book of Boba Fett, but I know who he is now, and I know how much of a Star Wars true nerd he is, along with Jon Favreau. And now knowing that Cad Bane was from the animated stuff as well as the sheriff, and I can't think of the sheriff's. Oh, he's a Duros. Okay. Thanks for that clarification, Mike. Um, I thought he was a Chiss because of the blue color, because I know Chiss are blue as well. Um, so thank you for correcting me on that. And had I watched the animated stuff, I'd probably would have known that. But yeah, this is making me want to go back and watch the anime, the Clone Wars, and what is it, Rebels, and do that stuff, because apparently there's references I didn't get, and the fact that he's a Duros, I wouldn't have known that. So, um, and so I need to go back and watch the animated stuff. So it did do that for me. The Rancor scenes I thought were well done. Uh, Basically, Boba Fett at this point is what we'd call a master creature handler in Star Wars Galaxies terms, because in Star Wars Galaxies, master creature handlers can tame Rancor, and I can't remember if they're a mount, but they might be. But they definitely can tame Rancors. They can tame more than one. They can have two or three. I can't remember at one time. The master creature handlers. So, um, so I am convinced that either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau or both played some Star Wars Galaxies, because there's things that have been in both these series that are definite references to the game. So, um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't. I think the mods that they're calling the teenage goth Vespa gang, they're calling them the mods because they're modded, with modifications and stuff, augmented with cybernetics and stuff. Um, it just doesn't fit for me to Star Wars. They're the way they have them looking, the space Vespas, um, the whole thing. I just, something about that twists me. I can't figure it out. Mistress says, oh, go up a little bit here. There's a lot of good characters in Clone Wars and Rebels. Clone Wars and Rebels surprised me in that they were pretty good. Mistress says, I can't imagine how you tame a Rancor just because of KOTOR. That thing is massive. And then how do you feel about Sand People overall? So now what this series, the other thing this series did was it gave me a much better understanding. I think a lot of people, a much deeper understanding of the Sand People, and that they're nomadic, they're tribal, and they're survivors out there in the desert trying to survive and all that. Where before we just thought they were pure just savages, and they have a lot of ceremony involved with their culture and so forth. So I'm actually a lot more empathetic towards the Sand People now than I was. So here's a funny thing. Here's a funny story. So um, we might go over a little bit today because I still want to go over this right here. So in Star Wars Galaxies that I'm playing right now, and I've over the years I've played over many hundreds of hours. There's two factions. There's Sand People and there's Jawas, and they're opposing factions. So if you kill a bunch of Sand People, you gain Jawa faction. If you kill a bunch of Jawas, you gain Sand People faction. So if you want to do stuff for one or the other, you got to pick. You can't be friendly with both, basically. So now, when I was the original in 2003, when Star Wars Galaxies launched, I was completely on the side of the Jawas, and I was taking all the Sand People I could and everything, right? Now, in Star Wars Galaxies emulator, because of this show, I'm actually siding with the Sand People, and I'm taking out Jawas because of this show, because I feel more empathetic than I do the little bastard Jawas that rip everybody off, So I don't know that, and that's a true story. I literally a couple days ago, I was like going along, and like there were some Sand People or whatever, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to attack them, and there were some Jawas, and Jawas are sometimes in town too. And it was like I had no qualms about taking out the Jawas to take missions for them, as opposed to taking out sand people. So I've actually the show made me flip. So let's see here. Mike says the mods didn't feel right with me either. Yeah, I don't. I think a lot of people didn't feel right with them. Mister says I like sand people in SWTOR too, even if they were mostly savages. The Jawas are awesome. I like French roast. You mean French roast Jawas? um, but hey, the Jawas and SWTOR are your best friends, though. So yeah, and I haven't played SWTOR in a long time. So I jumped back in here recently or whatever, and I was so overwhelmed because I have housing in SWTOR, and I'd forgotten how to decorate, and I looked at my inventory. My inventory is overflowing with shit. My bank's overflowing with shit, and I was just overwhelmed. I'd probably almost have to start from scratch again if I was going to do SWTOR again because I've forgotten so much. Let's see. So anyway, I think we covered everything there. I was going to talk a little bit about the Olympics, but that's not something we have to talk about or whatever. That was just a filler thing. I did want to go through this though real quick. I don't know if Edward is still in here. I hope he is, but I promised to go through this. This was TSR's. This is back probably. This has got to be around 1979, 1980, somewhere in there. Maybe even, yeah, right about there. I'm thinking. It's called Dawn Patrol, and this is a role-playing game, basically for aerial combat in World War One. So you had the biplanes and stuff like that. Now, the history on this is the original game was called Fight in the Skies, and I do not have Fight in the Skies. That's going way back. That's in the 70s, right after D&D or whatever. Matter of fact, it might have predated D&D because it was actually a war game. It wasn't necessarily a role-playing game. Fight in the Skies was more of a tabletop war game, miniature war game, and then when Dawn Patrol came, they added the role-playing elements to it. Now, as Edward mentioned earlier, Mike Carr is who wrote this, and he wrote the original too. He wrote Fight in the Skies as well. And I had a couple of I hope Edward's here because I told him I had a couple stories to tell about Mike Carr. But I'm just going to show you what's in the box set right now. So you had a map, and I'm going to do this carefully so I don't rip a map here. Let's see, because I haven't looked at this in maybe 20 years. I haven't opened this, so they're not going to make it easy for me to get this open, are they? Oh, I see what they did there. Okay. So this is your map. There's your map. And it looks like, because you're flying over it, the game takes place in the sky. So it looks like it's just a field, a European field, and then you got your game book itself, which was, and it kind of shows you how everything works mechanically on the map for aerial combat. And it's only about 32 pages, so it's not a very big book. And then you have your aircraft specifications. So, and these are cards that have different aircraft on them, and these are the old biplanes from World War I or whatever. And so this game is a lot for history buffs who are really interested in that era. But they're all on cards and stuff like that. And then It even has in here medals and commendations and all that. And then there is the role playing aspects here. They got the role playing aspects listed there to talk about pilots and how you role play for the pilots and all that stuff. And then in here, I got to be careful here. So this is unpunched. This is all the basically your tokens for the planes and stuff like that. And they even have one here for a dirigible. Looks like for a blimp. And there's anti-aircraft guns and stuff too. So I don't want to punch that by accident. And then your setup tables. You have tables, separate tables, and you have your aircraft mission log here, which is separate, which you could make photo. This looks like it's perforated, so this came out of the book. I've already taken these out of the book. So yeah, these were both in the book, and I've taken them out. I can't remember if I played this or not. I think I prepped it, but I don't think I had anybody that wanted to play it. This was back when TSR was putting out a bunch of different games. They put out Indiana Jones, Dawn Patrol, Marvel Superheroes, all these box games, role-playing games, and Star Frontiers and all that. And my goal was I just wanted to get one of each. I want to get one copy of each, and I've held on to them all this time. I've been lucky. So anyway, that's Dawn Patrol, which started with Fight in the Skies. And there's the back there. So if that's something that, people still play this. So, and I know that's a collector's edition there, or it's a collector's item, I should say. Does Dawn Patrol handle elevation? Yes. It's mentioned in those tables and in the mechanics and all that about elevation. So, yeah, it's full aerial combat. However they handle it, like I said, I don't think I ever played it, to be honest with you. So, but I own it. So if people here ever wanted to, at the table, ever wanted to say, hey, let's break out that Dawn Patrol and let's see if we can figure it out and play something, we've at least got it, so we could do it. Let's see. Mistress says looks complicated, but that might be just because I've never seen this. Yeah, it. Again, what they did was Fight in the Skies was it was strictly a tabletop war game, and basically, like he's saying, X-wing miniatures doesn't handle elevation. They handle elevation in this, and X-wing miniatures would be a very good comparison. That's a modern version of this, basically, except that's in space. But that's just as I used to collect all of the X-wing miniature models. You mean these? You mean these guys right here? I've also got the Millennium Falcon. And yes, it is dusty. I need to dust. But that sits on my roll top desk over here, along with the Millennium Falcon. And the box, I kept the box for this. I always keep all my boxes for all my collectibles and stuff like that. And the box does say Slave 1, obviously. And so I know that this will now be worth something, even though it's been opened, because they won't say Slave 1 on them anymore. It'll say Fire Spray now. So my Lego set also says Slave 1. So I have the Slave 1 box set for Legos, or the Lego set. It's not a box set. It comes in a box, but it's not called a box set. It's just called a Lego set. But yeah, unfortunately, with that Slave 1 Lego, I had opened it and I was looking at the instructions and everything. I didn't start putting it together, whatever. I wish I had just left it sealed, but now I may have to put it together. The idea was some of those Lego sets, like for the ships, I could put them on fishing line and have them hanging down somewhere here inside the tavern. So, all right, guys. Well, that's an hour. We're over an hour now, and the voice is going. So, Let's see here. I want to see if oh, you got Vader's TIE Fighter. Yeah, the only two miniatures I got from the Star Wars miniatures or X-Wing miniature game is that one and the Millennium Falcon, and those were my wife got those for me for Christmas one year as a Christmas gift. So, um, all right, guys, we're gonna call it here, and we'll be back on Sunday before the Super Bowl. So, we went ahead and did our predictions. If anybody missed that and wants to throw their predictions in before we shut this down, I think once I hit end stream, it keeps the chat open for a while. So I think if there's anybody else that wants to put in their prediction, including the score that you predict, you can do that now. And other than that, we will catch you guys on the flip side and see you Sunday.